approved for February 8th in order. Secretary, please report the roll. Motion, we need a motion for our January 11th meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Corrections or additions?
I would make a motion that we accept the minutes as printed for us.
Motion by Pat. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sean. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, any sign? Motion carried with all consent. February 8th meeting, regular agenda. To consider variance request to reduce the required mobile home park perimeter setback of 35 feet to 0 exterior lot setback on the northeast and south property line, located at 66 South 11th Avenue, East End of Street. You come up and give us your name and all the particulars.
Sure. Okay, my name is Gene Prouse. I am the owner of the West Side Trailer Park. Owned it for about 18 years now. Purchased it from AK Investments, and the park was existing when I purchased it. Come to realize after there was some issues and the city took over the inspections for passing mobile home parks and licensing them, that it was brought to my attention by Leonard that some of the homes are setting on city easement. The ones along 11th Avenue, there's 3 of them that are setting on city easement. So I'm here to address that, I guess. I'm willing to get them off of the easement, and in case there's any issues or whatever down the road as far as accidents or whatever may happen, if somebody was to get in a wreck because of these homes are setting out on city easement. And then there was a survey done, I'm guessing about 20 years ago by, I can't remember his name. His last name's Prosiv out of Belfield. And we were able to find that back then, the pins that he located are pretty well close to what the city suggests the property lines are. And that puts those 3 houses out there on city property, and then there's also a couple of them that are stretching over the property lines. And I'm here to ask for, I'm willing to move forward and correct these overages and so forth of where they're at, but I'm requesting a 0-foot setback, because if I go back, if it's 35 feet and use that setback number, there's room for maybe a home the size of a camper along 11th Avenue. Right now there's 70-foot homes in there. At a 35-foot setback, that would probably allow me to have like a 30-some foot home there, which is basically nothing, you know. I mean, that's and that's why I'm asking for the 0-foot setback. I want to say about, I don't know how many years ago it was, maybe 8-10 years ago, I approached the Board of Adjustments here for lots 18, 20, 21, 22, and 23 to put those homes in there at one time, and we agreed on a 10-foot setback and so forth, and we were able to do that. But the ones that were up front and existing, that's the ones where there's some problems. If I do move back on these setbacks, and if you were to approve the 0-foot, I want to put in some nicer homes. it's not utilizing the ones that are there. I want to upgrade some homes. Whatever that may be, what's going to fit. I can't really turn the homes per se to make them fit within the footage required because of where the water lines are, the sewer lines, MDU gas lines and so forth. I mean, it would just be it'd be a total tear down almost and have to start over in order to do that. Any questions?
Questions and comments for Mr. Kraus?
I've got a question.
Bruce?
So, you said the lots that the city gave you a 10-foot setback on, they were actually on the south side then?
It was houses number 18, 20, 21, 22, and 23, and 25. It's the ones to the west.
Okay.
That was at one time, I asked for a change in code also. I think it was GS. And we changed it to MH, and then we're able to fit those homes in there.
So is this property line, or this line that cuts through the south trailers, is that fairly accurate?
That's railroad property.
Okay, so
Yep.
you-
That's pretty close, yeah.
okay. And so what is the setback from other property? Is that supposed to be the 10 feet too? then?
Well, when you set up a mobile home park, the 35 feet is the perimeter. This was existing, like Mr. Prowse stated, is he came in front of the Board of Adjustment. Actually, the timeline, I asked Mr. Dukart to put a timeline together, so he will come up, so you'll actually see that timeline of the events of how it happened. The Board of Adjustment, based on the year that Mr. Dukart provide, allowed that portion that was GC to be changed to MH to allow 5 homes. And at that time with a 10-foot west setback, south and north setbacks. That was approved by the Board of Adjustment on the upcoming year that Mr. Dukart will state.
Okay.
Leonard, do you have comments?
I will like Mr. Dukart to come up and give that timeline, and then I'll have some comments.
Okay.
If you have any other questions, thank you.
Questions?
I'll just wait and hear the timeline, I think.
Okay. The podium's yours.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I have a little slideshow here with my timeline. Okay, we'll start with thank you. Get our little button figured out here.
Oh my gosh, these are good too.
Okay. Okay, on June 6, 2008, Mr. Prouse applied for a lot variance with the Board of Adjustments to reduce the 30-foot buffer yard requirement from 30 to 10 feet on the west and north sides of the mobile home park. On June 6th, there's your information there. On June 6, 2008, Mr. Prouse also petitioned the City of Dickinson, P&Z, to rezone the same property from GC to MH to expand the existing west side trailer park from 10 to possibly 16 units. Okay, you can go a couple ahead there, Des. On June 26, 2008, a notice of public hearing went out to the Paragon Bowling Alley and any other property within 300 feet informing the management of a public hearing in reference to the variance that Mr. Prouse was asking for to decrease the setback perimeter around the west and north side of the mobile home park to 10 feet instead of 30, which was code at the time. Also included in the letter was a petition to the city asking for the park to be rezoned from GC to MH, making it possible to enlarge the mobile home park from 10 to 16 homes. On July 7, 2008, a letter was received by John Mueller, then the Secretary of the Paragon Bowl, stating their objection to the variance setback being too close to their business. Another one. Okay, another one, Des. Next. There you go. On July 16, 2008, a P&Z meeting was held, and on the agenda was the rezoning request to change the zoning of the West Side Mobile Home Park property from GC to MH to possibly allow 16 instead of 10 units. P&Z denied the rezoning request. On July 21, 2008, a Board of Adjustment meeting was held, and on the agenda was the variance for the West Side Mobile Home Park to reduce the 30-foot buffer yard requirement to 10 feet along the west and north property lines, with an opaque barrier along the west property and west 60 feet of the north property line. A no action vote was put in due to the fact that the P&Z had denied request and Mr. Prouse had not made a request to go before the City Commission to have rezoning request approved. Next, there's our minutes and information there, gentlemen. On July 28, 2008, Mr. Prouse petitioned the City of Dickinson, P&Z, to rezone the same property to rezone the same property to change the zoning from GC to MH only on the south 100 feet for the purpose of adding 3 mobile homes. On August 5th, 2008, a letter of notice went to the public for the petition to change the south 100 feet from GC to MH, and the public hearing would be on August 20th, 2008. On August 20th, 2008, the Planning and Zoning held a meeting, and on the agenda was the rezoning request for changing the south 100 feet of the parcel to be able to add 3 units. Mr. Prouse stated that he needs 85 feet but is asking for 105 so he's able to have the 15-foot buffer between homes. Mr. Prouse also stated that he has no plans to use the rest of the commercial lot, probably just for additional parking for the mobile home park. Petition was granted as presented. On January 1st, 2021, Mr. Prouse applied for a variance to have a 0-foot setback from the north and east property lines since the number 5, 6, and 8 homes are in the right-of-way. This would allow the mobile home park to keep all homes and have 15 feet between them. On January 7th, a letter was sent to Mr. Prouse to notify him that his variance application was missing necessary information to complete the plan review. To sum this up, there are currently 19 mobile homes in the mobile home park, and no documentation on file to support that permitting was ever given for this number of homes. Only discussion that was on file was when Mr. Prouse applied for the first rezoning to take the home number from 10 to possibly 16, which was denied. The current code reads 35-foot buffer all the way around any mobile home park, with 15 between the homes. 60 feet east side street right-of-way was required. We currently have 55. 25 feet is required interior street between the homes, and a 20-foot setback from the closest mobile home to that 25-foot street. Currently, we have a 30-foot at the narrowest point when you first enter the mobile home park. I don't believe I have that, but if you look at the far or the upper left-hand side of that photo, that
Mr.
near.
You have a laser on there if you want.
Oh, there we go, sorry. Little shaky there. From that one to that corner, that's only 30 feet. And from that mobile home to that mobile home is 40 feet. So it really is supposed to be 25-foot road and a 20-foot from the road to the nearest mobile home on each side. And obviously that's for fire safety if you had to enter that park with a fire truck, etc., or life-saving equipment. 15 foot is required between the mobile homes. A 35-foot buffer, as stated by Mr. Schwint, required all the way around a mobile home park on all sides. 2 parking spots are required internally for each mobile home, and a 2.5 acre requirement is the standard now in the new codes. The current West Side Mobile Home Park has 53,000 square feet total. And that's all I have for information, gentlemen. If you have any requests, I'll direct you to Mr. Schwinn. I think he's pretty well versed on this.
Thank you. Leonard, you want to continue this?
As you can see, this park has, lack of a better word, evolved without the direction of the city of Dickinson. Looking at the west property line, the Board of Adjustment did allow a 10-foot setback there with opaque barrier and possibly some landscaping. If you go by the park today, that doesn't exist. The setbacks, according to what should have been done per that meeting, don't exist. We have more homes than that were allowed on the property. There's definitely issues here. What we have to look at, what this board, I believe, should look at, is the safety of the tenants of this park. I did speak with the fire department on this. As Mr. Dukart stated, the inability to get fire apparatus into this location is just that. With them not having that ability puts the tenants at risk. Like it did state, it is in the records that a Board of Adjustment did allow a 10-foot setback with conditions. Whether or not this board were to consider it, I mean, I believe this business has been here, and I think he has that right to continue this business, but let's make this a safe location for people to reside. With that said, at one point in time, that 10-foot was granted. I believe that in order to move forward with other conditions, those previous conditions should be met. And I want that reflected that we need something that's actually done and followed through with, not something that's just agreed to and then move ahead and put more homes in. I think some reworking of this lot needs to be done for the safety of the people that reside here. Again, parking is an issue, and the big thing is access into the property. If the board has any questions.
Question on the board.
I just want to state that I drove through there last evening, and it's a real bottleneck. You drive in, you can't drive out, you got to back up, turn around, and go back. I can see where the fire department would be very insistent on having another exit out of that area. That is definitely, I think there are many more homes in there than there is space for.
John?
I guess I've got a couple questions to start. On the west side, you talked about the south 100 feet, but we're like 200 and some. So is the north part not rezoned, not approved for trailers, or?
I believe the existing, where it used to be a campground, there's the portion, I don't know if we can see it on this one. I'd say the portion to the left was actually the original. It was a campground.
On the left, but
On
on
the left.
the part where we got the 10-foot setbacks that came to Board of Adjustment, it talked about no boat, and then the south 100 feet was granted, which to me looks like that would be just those south 3 trailers. Are the north trailers next to Paragon, were those ever approved, or are they not, did the zoning not change on that portion?
The zoning for the whole lot, I believe, has changed to mobile
Mobile home?
mobile home.
Okay.
Why it was denied, I believe, is because it was GC at the time. So the steps were not in sequence.
Okay.
Can't grant the variance for a GC lot for mobile home. I believe that's probably what happened.
Okay. Did you get any negative comments from the neighbors about a 0-foot setback when we did for the 10?
I did not get any phone calls on the property. Again, a 0-foot setback in the building world is generally non-existent, especially for residential properties. You can meet that in a commercial, but then you're rating walls. So it does exist, but the rating, sprinkler systems, all those things come into play. Our standard residential setback in a R1, R2, R3 is a 6-foot setback, to give you an idea for that.
Sure. With the railroad side being on there, is there agreements with the railroad to have that? Is that setback a concern on that side? Because there wouldn't be any building.
Since the city took on the licensing for the mobile home parks, we reviewed all the parks. We have no intentions of issuing a license for a lot that's non-compliant, which would mean those homes over a property line.
So even if he had an easement from the railroad, that would have to change too?
He would have to have that easement from the railroad, although then that portion would have to be rezoned to MH. It's the railroad is zoned, it's not zoned MH.
Okay, so if we were to grant a 0-foot setback, or a 5 or a 10 or something, obviously there's a lot more issues. Is that just setting the parameters for him to go back and redesign this trailer court then? Because you're looking at a lot of other issues. We're not talking about spacing between the trailers and parking, and that's not part of this request, is
Well,
it? Or
it is not part of this request. I would ask that this board look at how many homes got put in here. There's way more homes than were ever allowed. We believe, with research around, I believe it probably should be 15 homes at a max. In there, 10, I think it went back and forth, some of the meetings, they were denied 16. There's, I believe, 19 homes in there right now. I believe the ability to reconfigure to get the off-street parking we're never going to get the standard that the mobile home parks are today. It just isn't realistic. To allow this, to make this place as safe as it can be for the people that reside here, that's our intent. And it starts with that setback. This is kind of I mean, it's been here for us to come back in and say, hey, you need 2 spots per, that, again, he's been using the right-of-way for parking. That's been allowed for years. When we come in and look at this, we want this park to comply with our licensing. And the setbacks, we felt more crucial, just like the roadway coming in. With the reconfiguration of this, I believe you can make it better.
But I guess my question still is, if we come back and we say, okay, we agree with the 10-foot setback around the perimeter, that matches what was on the other side. For us to try and determine the number of homes, I don't think that's appropriate, because someone could meet your standards and put in, say, 40-foot homes and still have the same number, right? Versus 70-foot or something different. It's all meeting the guidelines that you would have for the mobile home. That's my question. If we set a standard for that setback, is he still going to have to design the mobile home park to meet the city standards? And are you going to look at whether the 1 parking spot per trailer or the width of the road versus the setbacks, those type of
The
things
starting
yet?
point-
Or is this just, if we say a 0 foot, he's just going to take these 3 trailers and move them in and put them on the property line, and that's going to be the end of this, even though you've got some on the south that are outside? And
In order to get a license with the city of Dickinson, he'll have to comply with being on his own property, okay? That would be one. If this board adjusts the property line, he'll work with that. As far as the setback in between the units, that would be part of the licensing for the park. As far as the parking, we want actually more parking, safer flow through here, but this was a lot that was allowed to have the parking as such. So we will work with Mr. Prouse as far as to see what he can do to get this parking to the best that he can. I don't believe that it's possible here to meet the full intent of the code. This was an existing property of record. The applicant did put more things in there than he should, so what we want to do is turn back that clock and get it back to wherever it was allowed, whether it was 10 homes, 15 homes, and work from that point forward, based on the setbacks that you give him at this meeting today. He cannot meet the 35 feet threshold.
well, you can, it just depends on how many homes you want him to have to
Right.
remove. I mean,
He was
put
approved
homes
for...
in there, you
yeah.
can meet it probably.
He was approved for X amount of homes, and I don't know that he would meet that with that 35 perimeter.
So would it be a better process to go with that number of homes and see what you can do and then come back for the request?
I did meet with Mr. Prouse. I did try that philosophy, and it didn't move forward. That's why we're here today.
Because it seems like there's a lot more challenges than just this setback to me,
Yes,
unless I'm missing.
you're not.
I think that's all I got.
Okay, thanks. So right now, the Board of Adjustments did give him a 10-foot setback, right?
Correct. On the west and the north, and based on our measurements on where we believe the property line to be, I don't believe those requirements were met. Close, but not met.
Other questions? Comments? Yeah, Gene, go ahead.
Okay, a few things that were mentioned, I guess I would need to address. The 10-foot on the west side with the opaque barrier, that fence was put up by Paragon after the city granted me the right to put those homes in there. That is not my fence, so I could not put anything in there that would be a barrier because it isn't mine. I did plant trees there. The ground, whatever was there one time, and somebody told me it was a cheese plant or something, it's all backfill. All the ground underneath this particular park is cement block and it's old pavement. Nothing grows there. We did plant trees. That was on my original design when I come in here. We did plant trees. None of them survived. And we planted trees that would live, like lilacs and so forth. And nothing can grow in cement block. And that's what's filled underneath these lots. BG's, when they put in the water and sewer lines for these homes, that's what they were digging up, was backfill. So there's nothing there that you can put, like trees that was suggested for us to be able to put an opaque barrier. The other thing is, with the 10-foot setback, I will verify that 10-foot setback from either side. It is there. I measured it. I know where the pins are. No one's going to tell me that doesn't qualify at the 10 feet. The homes, the request was for 10 to 16. I guess I don't remember that. But anyway, when the request was put in for 5 homes, there was extra room for another home. We put in 6. I did approach, at the time, Mel Zent was the inspector, and told him about these other open spots that were in here because it was a campground. He said, as long as I meet the requirements of setback between homes, I can put them in. And those are the ones that are in there. Number 4 is in there. That one is set. That one meets all the requirements. And then 17 was existing, 16, 15, those were in there. Number 6 and number 9 and number 10 were added. And those are not on the property lines. And Mel was the inspector at the time. He came and he gave me the permission that it was okay to put them on there because I did meet requirements between the homes. So it's not like I'm doing this without asking anybody that didn't have any right to give me an approval. And I guess I am trying to do this, guys, to get it off of city right away is the main concern, first of all. Trying to work with, actually, part of this process, hopefully, is buying a piece of ground on the north side that's owned by the city. I think there's 33 foot
Yes.
piece of ground there that in the near future, I think, I might have the possibility to purchase. So that means house number 1, 2, 4, and 5, with the purchase of that land, would and a variance of smaller setback footage, there wouldn't have to be anything done to those homes, I don't think. So I guess I'm trying to make this work. I'm hoping that extra ground will give us some setback room. And I know the railroad property stuff over there was existing. I got to deal with it, but I got to get it off of there. I need your guys' permission on the setbacks before I can move forward with anything. I can't start pulling these homes out and then nothing's in writing of what I'm allowed to do. I mean, at this point, it's 35 feet. Well, if I pull these homes out, no one's gonna let me put anything back in. So, I think the first step is you guys allowing me, or giving me the footage I need to tell me what my setbacks are, so I can proceed. I don't know if I need a 30-foot home, or if I can put in a double wide. You know, I just need to know what my parameters are gonna be. But I am trying to do this with keeping all of the setbacks between homes. And it is, right now, there is not a home in there that is closer than it's supposed to be to each other. When this first started happening, it was Craig Kubis and also Bob came over, and to them it met fire code because they were in 300 feet of a hydrant for them. There is one right down here across the street from house number 10. There's a fire, and they said all they need is 300 feet within the furthest point of a home, and it meets that requirement. And there's been a fire back there, and the fire trucks, they were able to, they got to it. So there is a couple of things I'm trying to do to make it work, but I do need the parameters more likely to start with, so I know what I can do to make this project move on with it.
Questions from Mr. Crowe?
Well, I guess my only comment is I think you have parameters. That's not that issue. The part I'm struggling with is you're not showing the difficulties, or even if we give you the 0-foot setback, you're still buying new trailers and you haven't put any thought into how you're gonna make that work. It seems to me like you should have came and said, I still wanna keep 19 homes and this is what I can do to do this, but I need a 0-foot setback. Instead, we're gonna set a variance on this, and then you're gonna try and fit within that variance and do whatever you have to meet all the other requirements, whether it's trailer setbacks or, so it seems like you're asking us to change something for what we don't really know what the end result's gonna be.
Well, I guess I'm trying to get it onto my property, all of the stuff, and get off the city right away.
But there's nothing from stopping you to show that on a drawing that you can even make that happen. And this is why you need this, and this is the hardship, because I have to remove 6 trailer houses to make it fit according to the code. That's why I need the variance.
Yes, and I would put in the smaller homes or whatever it is so I'm within those rules then. I know right now I can't put 70-footers in there because that's what's in there right now, and they're on the city right away.
So if we do a 10-foot setback, what can you put in there?
I take off 15, 60-footer, a 60-footer, and they do make them, you know. But if you give me, well, and if it's, you know, I just got to play within those rules then, you know. I mean, if it's 6-foot setback or 0-foot setback, I need to find homes that fit within that size then, so I can be on, you know, on or within the lines. You know, my thoughts are, we're even thinking about just putting double wides in the front along the city right away. But I cannot gonna go buy any until I know what size can fit. You know, until you tell me how many feet you want me back off of the street, I can't go and buy any homes.
And it is 10 foot right now.
On the west property line, it is 10, and I believe it should be 10 feet on the north, on the added lot.
These homes back there, number 15, 16, and 17, they're already small. Oh, there's a 48 footer, there's a 56 and a 46, and they're on the railroad property. I mean, our thoughts are, down the road here, depending on what we're gonna be told we can do, we might remove house number 19, is what we're thinking. That one that's sitting in the back, kinda right in the middle. And we can straighten out our homes and have more room back there. But it's just.
What happens if you pull 15 and we say you gotta have a 10 foot, you gotta bring that 48, now you shut your road off completely?
I'm thinking, okay, say that again, Sean?
Yeah, number 15,
Yes.
that home, that was one of the bottleneck points that we talked about
Yes.
between home 15 and 10.
Yes,
If you have to get that off the railroad right away with the 10-foot setback, that means you gotta move it 23 feet to the north.
correct. So that means
It's only
it's,
gonna make that bottleneck worse, right?
well, that's where, if I remove 19, I probably have to take out, like, in order to straighten those, if I'm gonna use those lots then, if, I can't make that bottleneck any tighter. It's already small. I mean, I just gotta use common sense on it, and it is just not gonna work on some of these, to do that. I mean, 15's already a problem. But that being said, doesn't mean I can't set one the long way, maybe on 15 or 16 or something, if my setback is 0 or 10 foot or whatever, I gotta live within those rules to get it off of there. And if I have to, the road back there to enter this park might have to be where 9 and 10 are. 9 and 10 might have to get moved to make the road to go back there with 19 out of there. But there's so many different scenarios, and without me knowing what I gotta stay within in the lines, I can't go and say I have these homes. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of homes, and I ain't gonna go and buy any homes before I know what you guys are gonna let me fit in there.
And I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that you don't have to buy any homes to sit down and try and reconfigure this you could start at the 35 and then it's like, oh man, that doesn't work, and come to 25, 10 or 0, and then we're approving, because your hardship is, you're going from 19 homes down to 7, and now, or whatever it is on this, and I want to try and maintain 15, and I can do that and meet all the other requirements the city's going to require. My fear is we give you say a 10-foot setback and we approve that, and then you meet with them and they've got these road requirements or anything else that you have to
Yep.
apply to, and then you find out that, well, at 10 I can't even do that, now I've got, so I do need the 0, but we don't really know, in my mind, whether you've even put effort into trying to solve all the other things, and we're trying to get a variance that you may be back here asking for something else.
Mr. Soren, if I may make a recommendation for this board to table this and ask that Mr. Prowse put a plan together as you suggested. This was part of the conversation prior to this meeting. and to ask him to submit that and then have this board relook at it.
Because my feelings, I guess, are that this has been here a long time, and I understand you want to try and work, and I would be more than willing to try and work with you on something, but I think there should be some efforts to show what you can do and how you're going to solve and create the hardships that are going to happen. So, that being said, I would make the motion that Leonard recommended and come back with that plan for us to have the details as to, and if it's a 0 or a 10, you know, I mean, 10 would be a good place to start because you've already been approved at that as a setback, to see how you can make the park work and
I
bring
think,
that back so we can then help you move forward with this. You don't have to go buy homes before you do that, you know?
well, for the length of them, I would.
Not before you would do your plan and figure out what you can work. I mean, you can figure all that out before and then get your approvals and then you're good to go, right?
The one thing though is that purchase of that city lot. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. That would change a lot of things for 1, 2, 4, and 5. And that,
But
I
we
don't know how far
that
down.
right now either, as you're asking us to make this recommendation.
Right, and that's what, I don't know how far out that would is. I mean, Leonard, you had started the motions on that, or?
Well, the process has not started yet.
Okay.
There's been conversation. There's a city lot, 33 by 100?
Yeah,
Or 150.
the length of from house number 1 to
Yep.
the street.
That's adjacent north to this. And the idea is that if the city puts this up for sale, which if the city does put a lot up for sale, it's the highest bid purchases this lot. If Mr. Prouse was able to purchase this, then he could change his plan. But like you said, that hasn't happened, so.
Well, it certainly makes sense to show us what it'd look like.
I believe you,
With a 0 setback, with a 10-foot setback, it certainly makes a lot of sense.
Mr. Chairman, I would second Mr. Shorun's motion that we table this at this time and Mr. Prouse goes back and refigures his parameters here and sits down with the city and figures out what is possible, what is not possible, and then we have something to go by to give you a variance if so intended. So, as I said, I would
Okay.
second.
Motion to table has been made by Sean, seconded by Pat. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Sean,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. Okay, anything else to come before the board? Ready?
nothing at this time.
Nothing at this time. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I would move that we adjourn.
Motion by Pat, second
Second.
by Bruce. We are adjourned.